Hey guys, it's Nick here. Back with my first official video review on the channel. This is technically basically what I'm going to be doing on this channel mainly, besides collection videos and stuff like that. And I figured I'd sort of start with one of my favorite emo records of all time. Um, the record that really made me sort of, I really liked emo before when I was younger, but the record that made me really dig into everything, like all the bands, everything. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this record here, Swiss Army Romance. Now, I do give a warning, this video, I'll try to like not talk as much in this video, but there's a reason why I picked this record. And I gotta set the scene for when I bought this record actually. So, I known about Dashboard Confessional in 2020. That's when I found out about them. I'm very young, so I got into them during COVID. I listened to Hands Down and Vindicated, all the big hits when I was 17, and I thought they were pretty okay. But that's all I really thought about them. There wasn't a band that I picked up and listened to. I don't know. I didn't really dig deep into bands back then like I do now. So it was a very, it was a couple tunes here and there. And I put them in the back burner for a couple years. And then college rolled around. And the thing is with college for me at the time is I was not into all those bands you see back there, and I was in college. When I first got into college, I was really into like post grunge. I liked Our Lady Peace. I liked Third Eye Blind back there. I liked a lot of pop punk. I liked Sum 41, Gob, Trouble Charger. I did like Trouble Charger before I knew what Greg Norrie did, but I was a big fan of Canadian bands and new metal. I really wasn't like a big emo guy. I knew the big hits and stuff, but it was sort of a strange time for me. I remember the day that I found out about this record, it was sort of I wouldn't call it fate. I remember during this time of this record, I had a crush on this girl, and my college, I'm going to keep it very brief. And I remember not exactly wanting to sort of express myself for her. I remember sort of suppressing all those feelings and stuff. And, I really didn't want to like anybody because it was college and I wanted to kind of focus on school. I really didn't want to have any sort of feelings for anybody. But that same day, I went to the record store by my college, and little did I know, this record here it was just sitting there. I actually did come looking for it. I listened to it on YouTube a couple times, just like one or two songs, and I'm like, hey, maybe they'll have it. And they did have it. And at the time, my I was carrying this around. This is my CD player, so I popped it in. It was a very cold March day, March 2023, and the rest is history. That is like a very brief version of that story. As far as I remember, it was a year ago. It's kind of hazy now, but yeah, I popped this record into my CD player and I listened to it on the train ride home, and it sort of never left my on repeat. I still listen to this thing whenever I can, whenever I don't want to be overwhelmed by my emotions. But yeah, now let's actually talk about this record in context. So, this record here, Swiss Army Romance, was Chris Caraba's sort of his individual side project. The lead singer, Chris Caraba, that guy back there with the guitar, he was in a lot of punk bands and a lot of, I don't say Christian rock bands, but he was in a lot of like semi-religious emo bands back in the early 2000s. His first band was called Vacant Andes, which was in 1996, like mid 90s. And I've heard some other stuff. It's actually really good. That was his first band. He was also in this band called The Agency for a while as like backup vocals and guitar. And he was also the lead singer of Further Seems Forever, which is a Christian band, like I mentioned earlier. So he was in a lot of projects before. And as far as I could tell, as I've read, it seems like those bands didn't really go anywhere. As good as they are, Further Seems Forever really wasn't going anywhere. They'd been around since 1999, and they'd released one EP, and they had released another record, "The Moon Is Down," which I have to review one day. But those bands really weren't really gonna go anywhere, and Chris just thought, hey, maybe I will try to do this myself. And he recorded this thing, I'm pretty sure in a day. What I remember reading is Chris recorded this in like one take in a couple days, and it blew up. It quite literally blew up. This record here, it was, dare I say, like an overnight sensation, sort of in 2000. Um, And there's a lot of reasons for that. Before this record came out, acoustic tracks for emo bands in particular were very, very like reserved. If you listen to any emo record before this, acoustic tracks are either in the middle of an album or towards the end, and it's one of them or two at least. I remember there's this one song in Save the Day, Can't Slow Down, which is really different from all the others. And Newfound Glory, Nothing Gold Can Stay. You know, all these really like not pop punk records, all these emo records always had an acoustic track, but it was always like in the back burner or like a one off. But this record was not a one off. This record is originally, I believe, just 11 tracks of this is the deluxe version, so it's got more tracks. It's literally 11 tracks of just acoustic guitar, very, very low production, really sort of like raw, heartfelt songwriting. And that's what made me gravitate to this record a lot. Is because, like I said, I knew a lot. I knew some bands back then. You know, I knew MCR and I knew Taking Back Sunday, and I did like them quite a bit. But the one thing that I love those bands, like I said. But the one thing that I think the reason why I never stuck is because it was a lot. You know what I mean? I got into emo through internet circles, and that's what is put at the front is these lots of heavier bands, you know, like MCR's later Black Parade is very grand, and as much as I love those songs, it wasn't really something that I gravitated towards at the time. So when I found out about this record, that it was just a very stripped back, it was just a very simple, in the best kind of way, expression of emotion, and that's what really got me into this thing. You know, the lyrics were beautifully written, but they were straightforward to the point that I could relate to my situation at the time. And this record made me realize that, you know, it was okay to feel. Like this record made me realize that it was all right to like somebody. You know, at the time I really was hesitant on liking people, on liking the girl in my class, like I said, and that it was okay to feel these sort of things. And it made me this whole record helped me out through a lot of those emotions. So, but yeah. As for the actual tracks itself, like I said, this is the deluxe version from 2003. I'm pretty sure the original one ends in Hold On or Shirts and Gloves. I don't remember. But if I had to pick a favorite from this one, it's probably Living in Your Letters. I think that is like the one track that really made me, that kind of touches me every time that I listen to it. You know, some songs I ever listen to and I'm like, oh, this was sad. But Living in Your Letters is one that always sort of, you know, it pulls back a specific memory of that time. And I mean, there's just so many good songs on here. Again, I go and notice this is the first version of that song. It was re-recorded for another record later, for their other records later. This is the best version of that song. It's very straightforward. It's very raw. And I mean, Swiss Army Romance, Screaming Infidelities. I mean, you know, this really was the dashboard record for me. You know, in 2001, The Place You've Come Is Free the Most was released as well. That was like the one after this. And oddly enough, I like that record. I always did, but the lack of production and just like the sheer, you know, how pure it was really made me gravitate toward this record. Um, and honestly, I understand why this record isn't really pushed to the forefront of TikTok and all those social medias is because, you know, people don't exactly, I don't want to say they don't understand it, but I feel like people, to like the new gen of emo fans, this never gets really talked about. You know, I've met a lot of people that like emo music and they don't even know Dashboard, which is a crime to me because they were just so important to me and they were so important to My Chem 2 and a lot of other bigger emo bands at the time. I believe without Swiss Army Romance and the record after this, The Place You've Come Through the Most, this record really, you know, those records wouldn't have been as popular. I think this really helped push that mainstream emo narrative. You know, Chris was very, they pushed Dashboard very heavily on MTV and stuff like that. I mean, their MTV special was like one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. So, yeah, I mean, I could talk about this record all day. And as for the inside, like I said, this is the third pressing. I have a couple of other pressings. I'll talk about that in another video, but this is the third pressing, as you can see there. Dashboard Professional Vagrant there, filled the records. So yeah, this video is already getting pretty long. I think I've said everything I want to say. But I just want to be thankful for this record and kick off the channel in the right way with this record. It's a very important record to me, and I don't think, without this record, like I said, I wouldn't have made any of the friends I've made online because of the genre, and my collection wouldn't exist. That back there is all because of this. So yeah, that is all I got to say, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.